Welcome to another ZUMA Watch. We've just come out of a national policy conference. The ANC always has one mid-year in the run-up to its all-important end-of-year, mid-round national conference at which President Jacob Zuma's successor will be elected. Policy conference is about policy, but it's also about politics, and we're going to deal with the main headline issues arising in respect of both. On policy, going into the conference, there was a lot of understandable anxiety around what was going to be said about the mandate and independence of the Reserve Bank, and understandably markets are jittery about interfering with those.
Yeah. And that comes out of the report of the Public Protector recently, which suggested that Parliament should change the Constitution to change the mandate of the South African Reserve Bank.
Which, by the way, was a legally absurd proposal, and it's going to be...
Yeah, but it opened the political debate on the issue, and yes. I think what has been reaffirmed at the policy conference is a reaffirmation of the independence of the Reserve Bank, but an acknowledgement that there should be a public policy debate around the mandate, and the mandate is separate from its independence. One can change the mandate without having any impact on the independence of the Reserve Bank.
I mean, that's a nuanced debate, isn't it? And this conference, I think, nuance was not really the predominant characteristic of this conference. It was pretty crude.
It was the debate overall was very crude, whether it was on the issue of the Reserve Bank or the other key policy issues of white monopoly capital, land, etc.
I mean, the conference spent 6 or 7 hours, apparently, in one of the commissions, debating whether the word white should be attached to the concept of monopoly capital. Yeah. That shows the level of the debate.
Indeed, that was the level of debate, but it also shows that the Cyril Ramaphosa camp seems to have made some gains on that, because 9 out of the 11 commissions, according to the rapporteur, Joel Netshitense, says that they rejected the use of the term white in relation to monopoly capital. Yet Zuma, in his closing remarks, reopened the debate, and the Youth League pushed back after the conference, issuing a statement saying they're still committed to tackling white monopoly capital.
Overall, it looks like a score draw between the two main factions. But before we get there, what about land? That was another issue.
Another key issue, the very emotive issue of land in South Africa, and whether there should be expropriation of land without compensation, which would be, on a general scale, contrary to the Constitution. The conference seems to have affirmed the constitutional provision that there can be expropriation in exceptional circumstances without compensation if it meets the legal requirements that currently exist. So no change to the Constitution envisaged in that regard.
I mean, given the divisions, it was unlikely that the ANC was going to move hard or fast in any particular policy direction in a substantive sense. That seems to be the case. Turning back to the politics and the road to mid-round and a sense of who's got the upper hand, from a sensible left progressive perspective going into the conference, I think the hope was to kind of draw a line in the sand and arrest the state capture project that has been causing such damage in recent times.
And one of the remarkable things about this conference was that the lack of discussion of the issue of state capture, which has dominated South African politics for almost a year now.
Massive elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
But because of Zuma still being president, can't really go there.
Nobody could go there. But I think on the politics of it, I think there were probably small gains for the CR17, Cyril Ramaphosa presidential campaign. And I think he would have come out of this conference feeling rather buoyed.
And finally, in his closing remarks, Zuma seemed to, as a symbol of that kind of pushback, a sign of weakness almost, came up with this off-the-cuff kind of proposal that the losing candidate for the presidency become a deputy president, and the same with the deputy secretary general. Is this about trying to unify?
Well, this was a proposal that came interestingly from the KwaZulu-Natal region of the ANC, its most populous province, and it seems to be an acknowledgement that they're not so confident that their candidate, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, is going to win, and therefore trying to find a mechanism and changing the organizational structure to deal with the divisions within the ANC by creating 2 additional full-time positions. A second deputy president position and a second deputy secretary general position.
So as Wimbledon starts in London, it's juice, so to speak, and it's a tight game, and there's several more sets to play for, I think, as the year unfolds.